For over 5 centuries, a ghost haunted the North Atlantic. It appeared on the finest maps produced in Venice, London, and Amsterdam, a perfectly circular island divided by a singular river, sitting just off the coast of Ireland. To the sailors of the 15th century, it was a land of paradise obscured by a permanent shroud of mist that lifted only once every 7 years. To the kings of Europe, it was a strategic prize worth the lives of dozens of explorers. But to modern science, it is a phantom, a piece of land that by all accounts should not exist. This is the story of Hy-Brasil, the island that maps refuse to forget. The transition from folklore to geography began in the year 1325. A Genoese major cartographer named Angelino Dalorto sat at his desk and drew a small, circular landmass west of Ireland. He labeled it Insula de Brasile. This wasn't a sketch of a legend, it was a formal entry into the world's geographical record. In an era where the edges of the map were still populated by sea monsters and terrors, Dalorto's island looked remarkably grounded. It was depicted as a disc sliced perfectly in half by a river, a shape so specific that it suggested eyewitness accounts. For the next 200 years, this disc of the Atlantic would become a permanent fixture, shifting slightly in latitude but never losing its grip on the cartographic imagination. By the late 1400s, the mystery of the island moved from the maps to the docks of Bristol, England. This was the age of the merchant venturers, men who were willing to bet their fortunes on the horizon. Between 1480 and 1491, history records several organized expeditions leaving the English coast with a singular mission: to find the Isle of Brazil. These were not casual outings, they were well-funded multi-ship voyages. Even more puzzling is a letter written in 1497 by a Spanish prothonotary named Pedro de Ayala. He claimed that the men of Bristol had already discovered the island in previous years. This suggests a haunting possibility that explorers had found something in the fog of the Atlantic long before Columbus ever sighted the Caribbean. As the 17th century dawned, Hy-Brasil underwent a strange transformation. It was no longer just a dot on a map, it was becoming a place of documented, albeit impossible, encounters. The most famous of these occurred in 1674. A Scottish sea captain named John Nisbet claimed that while sailing from France to Ireland, his ship emerged from a thick fog to find the shores of a familiar, circular island. Nisbet reported that he and his crew didn't just see the land, they occupied it. They claimed to have met an old man who lived in a stone castle surrounded by large black rabbits. The man allegedly told them the island's curse had been broken. When Nisbet returned to Scotland with gold and silver supposedly gifted by the islander, the story became a sensation, cementing Hy-Brasil's status as a physical reality in the minds of the public. The persistence of the island on maps long after Nisbet's tall tales is a phenomenon known as cartographic inertia. Even as the Atlantic became a well-traveled highway, and ship after ship reported finding nothing but empty water at the coordinates of Brazil, mapmakers refused to delete it. To remove a landmass that had been sighted for 300 years was a risk most publishers weren't willing to take. In the prestigious ateliers of Paris and Amsterdam, cartographers simply moved the island slightly further west, or drew it smaller and more faded. It became a safety feature of the map, a phantom that stayed on the page just in case the next captain to emerge from the fog happened to see it. Modern science offers a more grounded, though equally fascinating, explanation for the ghost of the Atlantic. Sitting approximately 120 miles west of Ireland is a massive underwater plateau known as the Porcupine Bank. During the last ice age, when sea levels were significantly lower, portions of this bank would have been exposed as a prominent island. Is it possible that the legend of Hy-Brasil is a folk memory, a story passed down through thousands of years of oral tradition from a time when the island was actually visible, or was it simply a persistent mirage? Known as Fata Morgana, these complex atmospheric reflections can create the illusion of land and castles on the horizon, where only water exists, cruelly playing with the eyes of exhausted sailors. The end of Hy-Brasil did not come with a dramatic sinking, but with a slow, bureaucratic erasure. By the mid-19th century, the British Admiralty was engaged in a massive project to standardize and verify the world's shipping lanes. Armed with precise chronometers and deep-sea sounding equipment, surveyors combed the coordinates where the island was supposed to reside. They found nothing but depths of over 2,000 meters. In 1865, the final blow was dealt. On the official British Admiralty charts, the label for Hy-Brasil was removed for the last time. It had survived 540 years of scrutiny, outlasting the rise and fall of empires, only to be vanquished by the cold precision of the Victorian age. Though it no longer occupies a space in our oceans, Hy-Brasil remains anchored in our culture. It is the archetype of the otherworld, a reminder of an era when the horizon was a curtain that could be pulled back at any moment to reveal a paradise. Today, we view the Phantom Island not as a mistake, but as a masterpiece of collective imagination. It represents the transition of human knowledge from a time of myth and shadow to the illuminated certainty of the satellite era. Hy-Brasil was never truly an island of rock and soil. It was an island of hope, a destination for the dreamers of a younger world who believed that just beyond the mist, something extraordinary was waiting to be found.